It was the great Jewish comedian George Burns who said, and I quote, "The secret of a good sermon is to have a good beginning and a good ending, then having the two as close together as possible." The beginning of my formative years post-Massachusetts was in a Reformed temple similar to this one in Jacksonville, Florida. Its official name, Ahavat Chesed, taken from the verse in Micah, many of you know by heart, "What does the Lord require of thee? Only to do justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with the Lord thy God." Well, loving mercy or kindness is the translation of Ahavat Chesed, but since most insiders and outsiders could not pronounce Ahavat Chesed properly, they called it in their southern Yiddish accents, Ahavat Chesed. So everyone called it instead, like this place, the temple. My dad was the rabbi, and since he was blessed with a New York Metropolitan Opera chorus voice, he was also the cantor. In my childhood temple, there were a few quiet giants who, like this congregation, were the real difference makers. One was a 4'10" woman and close family friend who became my Aunt Ray Coleman, the founder of Camp Coleman in Cleveland, Georgia. I owe Aunt Ray my life since I met the love of my life, Cheryl Grass Green, at the time when she was 9 and I was 12 in the summer of '75 at Camp Coleman. The other quiet giant was a marvelous man, not much taller than Aunt Ray, named Alex Brest. He was the major benefactor of Jacksonville University, the museums and planetarium. He helped my dad move the temple in the mid-'70s from a neighborhood where there were very few Jews to Jacksonville's equivalent of East Memphis, known as South Side. Alex Brest also bought me my first and only set of golf clubs following my bar mitzvah in 1976, along with a gift certificate for golf lessons at Beauclair Country Club. I didn't learn golf well, perhaps because I didn't have a Memphis pro teaching me. Aunt Ray tried to help with more golf lessons, but she finally said the three wise words I needed to hear: stick with tennis. The point of this beginning is to establish that I have zero credibility as a golfer. But even for those of us who do not play the game, it has been a memorable year in the golfing world. The grit and grind, not of the Grizz, but of Team USA in the Ryder Cup last week after heartbreaking losses for years. And what about the goodness of Arnold Palmer, who died just before Rosh Hashanah and was buried last week? The stories of Mr. Palmer's altruism, philanthropy, generosity, and lives he touched are a testament to a legend who used his earthly fame for eternal good. In golf, I'm told there's one phrase. It's a phrase that really preaches, especially with the new year on our minds, no matter what the past year has wrought. The phrase is the sweet spot. I learned it from a longtime temple member who is a golfer many of you know. Her name is Harriet Freiberger, and we continue to correspond since her move to Colorado because temple, for her and for so many who moved away, is still her spiritual home forever. Golfers call the sweet spot the place on the face of the club, which, when hit exactly right, propels the ball directly to an intended target, a rare event for the average player. Harriet writes, "I've seen the least coordinated person I know address the golf ball with club in hand, take a swing, then look up with clear expectation of positive results. I've also observed the individual who is serious about the sport find an instructor and work hard to become adept at repeating a swing that can more than not successfully direct the ball. However elusive the perfect shot may be, each golfer expects to find it at least once in a while. Such is the magic of the game of golf. The problem, she notes, and as many of you know, is that swinging a narrow metal club that has a 1.5-inch diameter permits only a slim chance that once club head and ball meet, results will be what was intended. Most players struggle through a round of 18 holes, making the best of whatever situation unfolds. Failure to hit the sweet spot can take the player's ball into unforeseen obstacles. Every golfer has his or her story. So just what is it about this sport that lures millions of men, women, and children day after day, week after week? Reference books tell us that the game developed some 10 millennia ago with Romans using bent sticks to hit leather balls stuffed with feathers. Why do people want to control the flight of a ball and actually make it go where they want it to go? Harriet asks, why do they think they can? There must be something in the human psyche that stimulates the desire to achieve and experience the pleasure derived from accomplishment. Despite the punishment most golfers experience when they play lousy, when golfers manage to make that once every so often shot, hit the sweet spot, watch the ball ascend into the air and land exactly in the right spot, off a golfer goes in pursuit of a repeat performance. Harriet ends her essay, and I quote, "Thinking about the golfer's inherent optimism, I wonder if all of us are actually trying to find that sweet spot in our lives, that something we do can give us the feeling that all's right with the world. When troubles beset us, whatever shape they take, be it a financial difficulty, illness, or loss of a loved one, God forbid, we want to think that if we make some kind of effort, we can affect a result. If we make the shot, there is a real possibility that the ball will advance toward the designated hole. Would that everyone at the beginning of each new day could experience the possibility of a sweet spot that would take them wherever they wanted to go. The reason this sweet spot preaches so well is its inherent optimism defines our Jewish faith, and not only a leisurely game of golf. It explains why, I think, Teach for America 20-somethings sacrifice good money in the professional world for saving kids against all odds in disadvantaged parts of Memphis. For the rest of us who look at the newspaper, the poverty, and ask, what difference will one teacher in a classroom make when 47% of children in Shelby County live below the poverty line? Jewish teachers can confidently reply in the name of our faith. It makes a world of difference to that child I am saving. A golfer can tell you when and where he or she hit the sweet spot and even maybe scored a hole in one. The teachers I have met, who are the only positive force in forgotten lives and blighted neighborhoods, experience the sweet spot when just one child is inspired to reach distances and go where nobody ever thought a child in South or North Memphis ever thought he or she could. We all need to find that sweet spot in our lives, that something you and I do can give us the feeling that all's right with the world. That's hard to do, not only when we read the magnificent, relevant readings in this new High Holy Day prayer book. It's hard to find that sweet spot when we acknowledge the truth of the traditional prayer we'll read tomorrow, who shall live and who shall die? But from our perspective, not God's. Since we last filled the sanctuary on Rosh Hashanah, over 1,000 Haitian children and adults were swept away by Hurricane Matthew. And children continue to be slaughtered by the thousands in Syria. When it comes to the who shall be rich and who shall be poor line, material reversals for those who've lost it all or been fortunate to find a way to get wealthy, all that turns on a dime, certainly has very little to do with God. What's stunning to me regarding the who shall live and who shall die question is not the assignment of blame to a loving God who would never, ever will the death of innocent children in Judaism. What is stunning to me is the expanding gap in life expectancy between the rich and the poor, which really does determine who shall live and who shall die. For instance, did you know that as of 2010, the average upper income 50-year-old man was expected to live to 89. But the same man, if he's lower income, would live to just 76. The corresponding life expectancies for an upper income 50-year-old woman are 92 versus 78, 14 years if the woman is lower income. Perhaps the best reason to leave God out of the who shall live and who shall die question is because if we wish to ask why God allows gaps in life expectancy, poverty, and injustice to happen when God could do something about it, we better be afraid God might just ask us the same question. There are doctors and educators moving to Memphis, not for better money or music or barbecue, but to find the sweet spot in their respective fields. In helping recruit candidates to our medical school, for instance, I said to a highly regarded doctor with a very, very good job and practice in another city, I said, I can promise you as excellent a synagogue as any you'll find in America because of the people behind me. But why is this a good move for you professionally? Because he said, the New York Times and Wall Street Journal publish articles about health disparities between poor black women afflicted with all kinds of diseases, men too. But in Memphis, I may actually be able to be part of the solution rather than just talking about the problem from a distance. That excites me, he said, even if I could make more somewhere else. When troubles beset us or surround us, as Harriet wrote, we want to think that if we can make some kind of effort, we can affect a result. That's why I'm so proud of our Barbara K. Littman Early Learning Center. And not only for the hundreds of Jewish lives it has created for Memphis, you saw filling this bima for the Aliyah on Rosh Hashanah. I'm proud, among other things, for our role as a mentor for a South Memphis preschool serving children from homes with $10,000 annual income or less. But get this, they won the highest academic accreditation of any private or public school, NAEYC Platinum certification, with our partnership, full encouragement, and support. A seemingly elusive goal for the Church Health Center's Perea School, an inner-city preschool, found its sweet spot. And by being a part of that inherent optimism and complete partnership, so did we. And when you stay at it, not just golf, but striving to do something significant, you learn even more than you teach. Take the judging of poor mothers. I confess, since it's Yom Kippur, I used to do myself until I immersed myself with educators who are trying to find the sweet spot in early childhood education, not only at our superior flagship day school, but in single-parent poor families, where I learned working mothers are spending up to 10% of their paychecks to pay for diapers for one infant during the year. I was fortunate enough, a more privileged mom, like many of our moms wrote. She said, I was privileged to send my kids to an adequately staffed school that had the time to help out busy parents, with aftercare. And because we could afford it, my husband and I went to specialist after specialist until we found the best care for our daughter. In many small ways every day, she shared, middle-class resources ease the pressure of raising our 3 kids. I'm proud of the people my kids grew up to be. But while some of that is the result of them being inherently terrific human beings who are loved and supported, it also comes from simply having enough resources to pay for diapers and to keep our busy lives running relatively smoothly. Contrast that with the moms who rely on diaper banks to keep their babies clean, dry, and healthy. Most child care centers require a family to supply or provide a supply of disposable diapers. But families who can't afford them can't get child care, which means the parents can't work. And so the parents are branded as lazy and unmotivated, and they're accused of exploiting the system. Well, I learned from getting involved, more than a few kids from low-income homes in Memphis and across America miss school because their parents can't afford detergent to clean their uniforms or because they need to babysit younger siblings while their parents apply for jobs. And as Memphis researchers are finding, for more than a few moms who don't send their kids to school, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are a bad parent. It means that they have only bad options. Finding the sweet spot, rare and elusive as it is, explains why my research friends are fighting for kids and fighting to end poverty and injustice when most of us, myself included, read about it over coffee in the morning. It's why they never give up. And it's why Judaism is such an amazing faith to embrace. Because our if-istic faith says that if you devote yourself to something larger than yourself, beyond yourself, if you live a life making wherever you are better for others, if you live a life of mitzvah, not for piety or saying you're religious or for recognition or self-preservation, no. If you live a life of mitzvah for the refinement of yourself, other people, and this world, then you will realize, the Talmud says, then you will realize why you were created. Judaism's message for the building of a better world and more meaningful life through service to others can really prove helpful. And who knows, it may even help you find the sweet spot. Amen.